And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Starting off with hazardous weather graphic, we've got red flag warnings here in the red shaded areas through the interior, all the way out, including the Kobuk Valley down to just north of Galena. And that's for hot temperatures, dry conditions, and very high fire danger through this area, and that'll continue right through the weekend. Up in this zone here, that's a heat advisory for temperatures for the next several days to rise anywhere from 80 to 90 degrees, including the Anahtuvik Pass there. So from the Brooks Range into the North Slope and also all the way out to the western Arctic coast. And for fire danger forecast for tomorrow, July 3rd, expanding areas of extreme fire danger here in the central interior areas with high to very high fire danger, especially up here in the Yukon Flats, Tanana Valley areas, and high fire danger, Susitna Valley into the northern Kenai Peninsula. And you can see the high fire danger out over the Seward Peninsula now. And this area of extreme fire danger will probably merge together into one large area, either by tomorrow afternoon or sometime during the upcoming weekend. And from there, looking at satellite imagery, very persistent frontal system here. It's brought a lot of rain, anywhere from 1 to 2.5 inches across Bristol Bay on up in toward the Kuskokwim Delta. Starting to break up here. Still raining, but becoming more intermittent and lightening up over the Bristol Bay area down to Kodiak Island today. Kind of stuck in place there, but pushing off to the east here. Showers starting to taper off now over the southeast coast. Some thunderstorm activity here pushing over toward Northway and over toward, or Northway up toward Delta Junction. They were from 1/3 of an inch of precipitation falling during the day today, especially around Northway and Tok, with lighter amounts back up to the northwest there. Otherwise, a lot of sunshine, temperatures into the 80s in the interior. And out to the west, not a whole lot. There is a front here pushing into the far western Aleutians with some breezy conditions and precipitation with that, but already starting to show signs of weakening. Otherwise, not much going on out to the west there. And on the forecast for tonight, that front will sweep eastward, bringing rain into the central Aleutians. Wind's not much of a factor with this. Pretty light winds or by comparison, light winds, maybe 10 to 20 miles per hour or 10 to 20 knots, and that's about it here. But light rain, fog, and drizzle. A lot of IFR here over the entire Bering Sea with a light wind pattern there. Thunderstorms this evening for the Seward Peninsula and scattered along this trough here into the Copper River Basin again, and some of that into the Talkeetnas. And you can see really much drier conditions now, some weak ridging here over the Panhandle, and stays wet. Kodiak Island there as that low slides by to the east. Doesn't move too fast. Tomorrow it kind of drops off to the south there, but the front's still up close enough with that easterly flow to keep it occasionally damp there for Kodiak and into Shelikof Strait. Could be a little bit of light moisture there for the southern Kenai Peninsula. Otherwise, a partly to mostly sunny day in part for south central Alaska. Thunderstorms developing along this trough axis along the Alaska Range and the mountains of the Copper River Basin, Talkeetnas again. Denali Park into the northern Kuskokwim Valley, out toward the Nulato Hills. Sunny and hot in the central and northern interior, highs in the upper 70s to upper 80s, all the way up to the north slope there. And maybe some isolated showers in the afternoon for the Panhandle, but definitely a lot drier than what you've seen. And this system, begins to spread light rain into the eastern Aleutians and toward the Pribilof Islands. And for the 4th of July, that front pushes rain in across the Alaska Peninsula, almost up to the southwest coast there. See an increase in the clouds there for the Bristol Bay area, Yukon Kuskokwim Delta, but it should stay dry. Thunderstorms along this trough axis in the central interior, actually along the Alaska Range, and kind of angling back up toward the Seward Peninsula. To the north, sunny, hot, highs in the 70s and 80s, all the way up maybe even into the lower 90s in some areas of the northwest interior here, Noatak Valley possibly, and light winds all through the interior here forecast, and even not too bad out over the Bering Sea wind-wise there. Southeast coast, partly to mostly sunny, dry conditions. And then for the day on Saturday, we'll see this system here pushes off to the northeast a little bit, and that could nudge some moisture up in toward Heidelberg, over toward Metlakatla, Ketchikan, Net, maybe Misty Fjords, but to the north, staying mostly dry, isolated shower or two, and a risk of some thunderstorm activity again across southern Alaska, mainly over the mountains here along this trough axis. No change to the north. Sunny, hot conditions continue. Dry over much of the Bering Sea. A weak low could bring a little bit of moisture to the eastern Aleutians. This week's system kind of brings another rain pattern, light rain pattern, back to the Bristol Bay area. Occasional rain or showers with more of a IFR type pattern there. Light rain, fog, and drizzle for Kodiak Island. And then back to the west, nothing in sight. So moving on to the lows for tonight. 30s for the eastern central Arctic coast, otherwise in the 50s for much of interior Alaska. 40s out over the Bering Sea, and lower 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, very warm here, 85 to 90 degrees here over the central and western part of the state, with temperatures 80 to 85 over the east side there. You can see Anatuvik Pass forecasting a high of 88 degrees with 80s up into the north slope, lower 70s out to the western Arctic coast. Cooler southern Alaska, highs 65 to 70, lower 60s for Bristol Bay, in the 40s for the Aleutians and Bering Sea, and highs in the lower 60s for the southeast coast. Lows here, not much different what you see tomorrow morning for Friday morning. Mostly in the 50s across much of interior Alaska, 40s out over the Bering Sea, lower 50s for the Panhandle, followed by highs again, upper 80s to lower 90s over a good portion of interior Alaska here. 88 degrees forecast for Fairbanks, 90 degrees forecast for Ambler, and in the 70s along the western Arctic coast, with 80s over the central and western North Slope. A little cooler here to the east, and 60s to lower 70s for south central Alaska, upper 50s Kodiak Island, and about staying in the lower 60s for the southeast coast.